this is the show where we put together the best playing partnerships that our game has seen. We are joined by the prop stars, Gethin Jenkins and Adam Jones.
I used to get subbed after half an hour.
You didn't like me
in my first few caps.
Like, come on.
So he's come on for me.
Because he used to tell me before the game, see?
Did he?
Yeah.
And you didn't tell me?
But I never...
Can we cut?
Did you give out quite a bit?
What, on the field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did, yeah. He was horrendous.
Yeah.
To your own team as well as your...
Yeah.
Mostly to own team. Never to the own opposition.
Gethin's one of the most intelligent rugby players in his position in the history of the game, said Sean Edwards.
Adam Jones has great hair, Sean Edwards. That was the next.
Hello, Dream Team. I hope you're all well. Welcome along to the third in our series of Rugby's Greatest Unions, brought to you by our very good friends at Continental Tires. And this is the show where we put together the best playing partnerships that our game has seen. So after the halfbacks of Scotland, the great Gary Armstrong and Craig Chalmers, and Carling and Gusker of England, which was an absolute ripper. Today, at a point when Wales fans need a little bit of a pick-me-up, we are joined by the prop stars, Gethin Jenkins and Adam Jones. And to go through the CV, it's quite something. 45 test starts together, 3 Grand Slams, 05, 08 and 2012. And that is a feat that puts him in the same pantheon as the greats of JPR, Gerald Davies and Sir Gareth Edwards. Worth mentioning that Ryan Jones and Alan of Wales also picked up a trio as well. Both represented the Lions, both are now coaching, but in between they've had some of Wales' greatest days in the last 20 years. Gentlemen, you are very welcome.
Thanks for having us.
How are you?
Sorry about you two, eh?
Sorry about the
Sorry about that.
It's embarrassing though when you read it out.
Does that feel sort of, is that a fair representation? I mean, you are one of the greats of that red jersey. How often do people pat you on the back nowadays and say, can you still do a job? You got your boots? Where's your jockstrap? We need you.
They still say it, but then they kind of get a bit closer and realise I'm past morbidly obese now, so you're screwed a bit, aren't you?
But you're smiling.
But to be fair,
you're looking live. Yeah,
he's lean, isn't he? So he could probably still do a job. So
yeah.
I thought I was under pressure, but that sofa, honestly, that sofa, if that gives up, they're straight through the floor.
Yeah. Gethin, it's very nice to have you on board as well. How are you?
All good, yeah. Thanks for having me.
You've trotted up today from outskirts of Cardiff.
Yeah, 2 hours on a train and an Uber to get you.
Did we get first class train?
Yeah,
we did. Oh, fine,
yeah.
all right. Because I want to make sure we look after the greats, because if it was me, they'd put me in baggage handling, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got your own carriage, sadly, these days. But this is very much a show that celebrates the two of you. Can I start, so both born in 1980, can we start with the nicknames? So where's Melon come from? I mean, there's an obvious lead into that.
It's not the biggest secret. It's my head.
Right.
I had it from school. Just someone,
did you?
Yeah, just someone noticed how big my head was and called me that. Unfortunately, that's not going to change. So,
do you reckon your head's bigger than my head?
There's a lot of
There's quite a lot of real estate. Like,
yeah,
mine's bigger than both. I guarantee.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he disguises his.
Mine's massive. Yeah.
Right.
Imagine it went out the back like a Klingon or something like that from start. It just grown the hair.
That's not far off. Yeah.
It's like a caravan at the back.
But you know what? Back in the day, and again I say back in the day, like I'm 70 or whatever. Back in the day, you would clean rucks with your head. So it was a benefit to probably him, myself.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get away with it these days because of all the new laws and stuff. But I'd say most rucks you are heading in with your head first to try and clean someone out. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
I actually played against him as under 18s.
Right.
So he was quite famous around the sort of Welsh school circuit. The Melon, who played for, was it Bryncollenog?
Bryncollenog, yeah.
No, good school. Michael Owen played there as well. And I always remember that, like, back in that sort of time, 98-ish, maybe. No, but 97, 98. Like the massive head, but he had the fringe.
Oh, no, the comb forward.
So like skinhead, but with the fringe, like it's just a little less.
Do you
know what I mean? Like,
the fringe.
Number one all over with a little.
Ponty or on the fringe. That was the trend back then.
Really? So a full skin lid with a curtain
with that at the front.
Oh my God!
Did you dye that up a touch? Did you go the full sort of Ronaldo?
I did the peroxide at one
you
point.
did, yeah.
When you said he was famous, like, because when I was going to England under 16s, Davy Wilson was a big noise on campus, right? He got capped under 15s the year before. He used to walk around in his red jacket. They sort of unload him on a lorry, and because he had that arm that he broke, and then he when he was
Davy
younger,
Wilson from Newcastle.
Yeah, Davy Wilson from Newcastle. He broke his arm, and when he was younger, he wanted to go out and play with the kids. And he cut it off himself, so his arm never healed, so it was always slightly bent. So
he cut the plaster cast off.
Cut the plaster cast off, so his arm didn't heal. And he was always in there with the red jacket, and everyone was like, "Shit, hush, boys, that's Davy Wilson." Was that like similar?
Yeah, because upon the pre, they had a really good side. So him, Michael Owen, there was who was the outside half? Wogan. There was like loads of like schoolboy rock stars.
Yeah.
And he was the Melon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
the Melon.
The Melon was very famous around
I
South
suppose you
Wales.
get like branding for it or something like merch range.
He was well known around
I
the
actually played, so we obviously the same age, so we played against each other a lot growing up. So under 15s probably, we played our first game against each other. Then it went to an under 20s league and we played against each other again. And then all of a sudden we both rocketed through into the senior rugby, because then it was 12 teams.
Yeah.
And then straight into the Welsh squad at 21, 22.
Did you get on? Because I think that sometimes I think with props, opposition props have a closer relationship than anyone. Like, because we meet people in the bar, other back row guys. With props, because it's packing down. Sometimes I think half the time you guys give a nod and wink, a little gentleman's agreement. You make out like you're going real hard. Be like, right, boy, all right, boy, everything all right? Yeah. Can I win this one? Yeah, no problem, bud. And that's it. Was it like that?
Accent.
Well, yeah. Certain part of Wales. No, was that right or not?
It was a weird one, I think, because we were both the same age, but I used to get subbed after half an hour.
He didn't like me
in my first few caps.
Like, come on.
So he'd come on for me, and he couldn't play fucking tight to save his life. But he'd come on, and I'd be on, play the first half hour, and then Steve Anson would drag me off, and then he'd come on and just be like bobbing on, and he couldn't do scrum to save his life. But so I didn't really like him there. I did like. He was just a bit, I think we're quite similar. He's a little bit more miserable.
Oh, really?
He is. Despite like how he looks, the fittest prop you'd ever come across, because you would have done a 3K.
Yeah.
You used to do the 3K time trial up in Ewick, and I'd like looking to push for sort of 13 and a half minutes, just to get in there. And after about 4 laps, you see he just jogged past me, give me a slap on the arse, tell me to dig in, and after 4, and another fucking 5 laps to go, 3 or whatever it was to go. He was ridiculously fit. He was like, and it was a sort of.
We balanced each other out.
A chip liver
Yin and yang, exactly.
A chip liver from Abercrave. Yeah, he was a bit of a wanker. Really.
So every scrum we'd get up, and if
That's good
whoever was
mobility,
hooker,
Dan. Sorry.
we'd push him inside, so he'd have to work a bit harder because he'd have to get inside.
Yeah.
But then obviously we'd know that we'd have hooker, and I know it sounds.
But I never minded that.
Yeah, but
I'd rather be next to a ruck
that was us
than being
being clever.
exposed. Yeah, I know.
You're just trying to hide him, really, like a
absolutely.
dirty secret. Like he's great at scrums, but fuck's sake, get him in. Yeah.
Sean would come to me before test matches. Make sure you work hard to get in 10 or 2 guard or.
Really?
Sean, it's fine. I'll get there as quick as I can. But honestly, I've got no issue with that whatsoever. The last thing I want is someone mobile running at me. I don't want to make tackles at the best of times. So it's just I just try to avoid any sort of fast people. No, but he was a freak. He was.
And was that your makeup from a young kid, or were you someone who absolutely busted a gut in every aspect of professionalism?
No, I wouldn't say I busted
every
every
aspect.
aspect.
No.
I think it was different back then in terms of what you had to do. But what I did do as a youngster, I suppose I did sacrifice a lot in terms of, your mates going out on the piss on a weekend, and you're being a boring fucker really, sitting in the house, or going out for a run on a Sunday, doing something extra. When I first started, I was going to Pontypridd training, then I was going straight to the local club and doing the training in the night. All that just to, I suppose, build your engine, really, because that's probably something that back in those 2000s, that's where you needed to start going the way the game was. The game's a bit different now, in terms of physicality and how much power and physicality you have to have in it.
Is it true they used to work at McDonald's and all the Welsh players would come to the drive-in?
So what do we say now? You keep hammering me and I'll come back.
That's not hammering.
You used to work at McDonald's.
Do you flip burgers?
And all the boys used to come in. And all the boys used to come down, didn't they?
Did you get the 5 gold
You
stars?
ain't putting this out. I can tell you that. We can talk about it, but you ain't putting this out.
Why?
What secrets are you hiding from your time
What
behind the
do you-
Yeah,
counter?
you have to fucking work it. Once
calm down.
once a week, but I used to fuck some of
Were
the
you on
food
the
I
other
used
side
to
of the
eat.
counter, Bob? Was that the
Yeah, because you can eat what you want where you work.
Too far away. I couldn't drive it. It was
Can't,
too
but
You
I
did?
used to go in, have a large meal, then go around on my break, have like 3 cheeseburgers, finish, eating through the night, you're smashing nuggets and
Oh,
apple pies
really?
in.
And the boys come and see you, wouldn't
And
they?
you get home and you're just fucking greasy head to toe.
Oh my god! Would you have to wear a hairnet get the old tuck the fringe in?
the hat didn't fit though.
You have to tuck the fringe back.
No, I had the hat in, but all the fucking straps are open because it didn't fit.
Oh my god! Imagine. Were you front of house or were you out the back?
Oh, a bit of everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, imagine that, a bloke with a
Mopping the-
massive
yeah.
Kit Kat with a cap on that doesn't fit, looking like... Yeah.
With the
Front
blonde
of house,
fringe.
Front of house.
But the
maitre
boys,
d'.
because if I knew you were working there, I would have been straight round there,
Yeah, well-
drive-through. All right, boy, just slide me off a little thing like, give you a
Well,
tenner
that's
for
just-
30 quid's worth
Well,
of food.
at
That's
the
the story.
time, I knew, I don't know if you remember Geraint Lewis used to play for Wales. I used to know him, so that there'd be all the Wales boys coming from the Vale. They'd all my mates coming down. Again, you can't
free
fucking send
McDonald's.
this out.
No, because
I must have given away about
Yeah,
a
but they're not
grand
going to
every night at work.
retrospectively sue you. Like, I think
Yeah,
if
I
you've been sexually inappropriate, they come back and get you on there. McDonald's don't come and fucking get you retrospectively. 30 years ago, I'd love the legal letter.
Come through
Gethin
the
Jenkins
door.
has been sued by McDonald's for giving away £1 million. They've gone back and looked at the accounts. They thought someone was stealing. It turns out you were. The whole of Wales was congregating through a drive-through. Right, okay, so it's
How the
basically.
mighty
Let's
have
move on
risen.
from that one.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't
I
think
had
there's
an
anything wrong
attic
with
full of Happy Meal toys.
Shut the fuck up.
I only chucked them out 2 years ago.
Shut.
Yeah.
Oh, was that a retirement plan? If rugby don't work,
Ronald McDonald's.
We'll go to the. We'll go to the
What was the burglar called?
hamburger?
Hamburglar.
But you, so
Hamburger.
you thought you were going to rack all those toys out, and at some point when rugby failed, you'd be straight down a car boot. You were basically a millionaire in Happy Meal toys.
Beanie Babies, yeah.
Beanie Babies.
But actually, they are quite. Weren't
Well, nah, they're not now, do they? At the time, everyone's like, oh, they'd be worth a lot. And,
Oi, shrewd mind, isn't
That's
it?
clever, that is.
This has become a very prop episode
yeah,
all
we're
of a
wasting
sudden.
time here,
hasn't it?
'cause you ain't putting any of this out.
What was
You
your
ain't putting
worst
any of this
job?
out.
What was your worst job pre?
I used to work. It's a place called Danarogov Show Caves, which are show caves.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
Show
Yeah,
caves.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that?
So the caves,
Caves that
the
you show.
caves in the mountain, and
Okay.
they got like lights. They got like different stuff from the stalactites and lights
yeah.
and like.
Where Alan Partridge got stuck,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
What, were you a tour guide?
I
What
was a
did you do?
guide for a little bit, and I was a bear.
You were a bear.
Yeah, so I used to like dress up in this big bear outfit with the helmet on and the lights, and yeah, that was a.
How do you fit the cave?
It's not a fucking tiny cave. Is
Well,
it?
no, but I mean,
it's a
guide.
massive, huge cave
Yeah,
with
but
a
as a
big.
guide, you have to go through some tight spots. There's no way you have
Right,
to be able to-
this is the public. It's not like going past.
Oh,
people with
fine,
20
fine. No, you know, because like I say, a professional caver, that'd be
No, well,
the
yeah.
shortest lived career in the world.
Yeah.
Where's Bomb? He's got stuck in one of the things again.
Vazzing him up to get him out.
Talc him. Right.
Yeah.
But how did you learn about them though? Because you were big into caving? You got good cave
Oh,
knowledge?
look, there were speakers who just show people the door, and this was
Dressed
Tommy.
as a bear with a light on your head.
So we've got someone
That
who's
was a
fleeced
different- that was a-
McDonald's.
that was a different thing, right.
Someone's fleeced McDonald's and someone's fleeced the public. Everybody's on auto record. Yeah.
So you built up to be in the guide. Right? I was a bear originally.
Oh, you were
worked in the
a bear
shop.
You worked your way out.
Yeah, you worked your way up there over the course of about 4 summers. Yeah.
So basically, playing for Wales is what was a secondary to becoming a
Yeah,
full
exactly.
tour guide, wasn't it?
It was
Unbelievable. I don't have any of this on the script. We've definitely toured to
bear.
start with. Tell me a little bit about, because you mentioned Pontypridd, tell me about learning the ropes, particularly up front in Welsh rugby, and what that was like as young kids, particularly with big reputations. I imagine that is not a place for the faint-hearted, and you learn your trade pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Because you were Neath, weren't
I was
you?
Neath, yeah. So we started playing against the 21s, but I was playing for my local club, Abercrave, which is a little village club, kind of Swansea Valley way. And yeah, you're playing against you're playing against some interesting characters. I think it was my first ever senior game. It was against Cwmavon, which is again Port Talbot way. So it's, lovely part
Steel
of the
workers
Yeah,
territory.
exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I love how you stopped yourself there. Went,
Yeah.
lovely part.
I
of the world.
lived there for 3 years, so it's it was cheaper than Swansea, so I lived there. And yeah, I remember the first scrum. He was a big guy, big moustache. He was a big fella, loose. I hit him, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't too bad." I must have hit him a bit hard because the next scrum he purposely collapsed it and kneed me flat out in the face, and like it came out mouth bleeding, no gum shielding, sort of mouth bleeding, and I kind of just minded my own business for the next sort of 10 minutes to the end of the game, and then kind of sat down in the change rooms after the game, and this guy knocks on the door, walks in, eyeballs me. I'm like, oh fuck, he's gonna.
We're on.
Yeah, but he'd bought me a couple of cans of beer, and he came and shook my hand and said, sorry about that, but you got to learn. So it was a good learning experience playing
Wow.
Division 6 Central. Yeah, it was,
I'd love to have seen you in Division 6 Central in Wales.
yeah, it was,
You'd never have come out of there
I
alive.
don't think I would have done it.
No.
You know, when people talk about look back at your career and you go like, why did you play rugby and why did you do it? I was obviously like a kid off a conveyor belt or like the academy system. And I did it because I kind of was addicted to I was only good at that, and that was because it was a performance thing, and I was able to learn quite quickly. If you did well and trained hard and worked hard, you would get success. Yeah. But did I love rugby enough to have gone to like, a third division side on a field that's got like that with one man and his dog and got shit kicked out of me? I don't think I would have done. I think I always respect guys who've done that whole sort of journey.
there was no academies really. It was back in Wales at the time. I don't think it was only with the 21s.
No, I think that's the case with a lot of players now.
No, yeah.
They're not having that exposure. Not their fault, but
No.
they're going straight into academy and then straight into senior rugby.
And they're poorer for it?
I think the main thing what he talked about there is the resilience in terms of finding out how hard it is. Maybe not just scrum, but finding out how hard it is to, I don't know, get in a car and drive half hour to a local club where you have to play and have to earn your right to play, and then go and higher up the system. It sets you in good stead.
Did you have similar experiences?
Yeah,
at Ponty?
my first year in Pontypridd, I went for a year on loan to Treorchy. Now, Treorchy famous for the dream and the big thing on TV with them. And again, I had a team who no one would mess with, so it was tough. But I knew I had people behind me who that weren't going to get messed with. And even in the changing rooms beforehand, it was an eye opener seeing some of the stuff, you know,
Right.
in
What they
terms
take.
of what's going on.
Classic.
But yeah, I was saying, it just built you up, made you a bit stronger, a bit more resilient to know when you do make that next step that you're good to go, sort of thing.
And what do you remember of both of you being first called up for Wales? Was that a natural and comfortable step, or do you remember walking into the first team meeting and thinking, "Wow"?
For me, I'd been in one or two squads when Graham Henry was still there. Never really took part in anything, but almost like you do now, sort of give him a taste of it. And then when Steve Hansen came in, it was almost like he wanted to start a fresh slate. And I think myself, Adam, there was a couple of other boys from Ponty in terms of like Rob Sidoli, people like that. You almost, because we were going well as a club, had a feeling that you were in the pipeline in terms of who they wanted to come in. So when I first go in, it was a big step up and a big eye opener in terms of, right, you had to look at your body comps and all stuff like that you'd never even thought about before. I think when I went in,
Looking whimsically out east.
but like when you went in, my body, I was 113 kilos, and I'll always remember this. The first time I went in, I was 113 kilos and some like 21.5% body fat. And if you told anyone a prop was that now at the top level, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But you'd never had any, not saying nothing, but you'd had so limited resource in terms of trying to look at that side of things that he just turned up and it was like, oh, right, he's got here, but he's still
A long way to
he's
go.
still got a long way to go, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Steve Hansen was quite, coming from New Zealand. There's a fitness coach, Andrew Ho, as well, I think he's CEO of Auckland Blues.
Yeah,
now,
that's right,
isn't he? So they kind of took the shift away. Like when there was a Neath, there wasn't a dietitian. It was like just eat plain chicken, and jacket potatoes for some reason. That was their like suggestion. So it was a bit of an eye opener going into that sort of environment. And I kind of came from playing a year or 2 years before for Abercrave without anything, and then I'm in the Welsh squad. So it was a bit of a jump. So. And then I get my first cap against Jason Leonard.
How was that as an experience?
We were 40 points down at the time because it was the pre-World Cup warm-up game in 2003.
Oh, yeah.
So England were pretty good, weren't they? Well, we had our full side out and they had their second team out and they were 40 points up. And I'm kind of coming on and Jason Leonard's there and you don't know where to, ask him for his autograph or, whatever it is, because he's the only English guy I was ever allowed to like by my mother.
And did Jason look after you in a sort of respectful manner, or did he go at it and then sort it out afterwards?
No, he was fine. I think he probably took it easy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure like that necessarily. But was he is a big character of the game.
I will say he was. We played him in the World Cup after that, and he was. Again, I got subbed after half an hour. I was doing a good job. Then, fuckface comes on here, and then comes and then I,
the Hamburglar.
It was the. I'd been over the week before it happened against New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'm crying my eyes out. Micron, the scrum coach, is like, give me a cutch. And then, to be fair, we played England and then they beat us. And then, as we were walking off the field, I think Jason had been subbed after half time anyway. He was, he comes over, he grabs me, he said, "Come, let's go to the change rooms." And he took me in and had a few beers with him there. So I was, I was fanboying over.
Good.
A bit of an icon, isn't he? So.
How do you reflect on Hansen now?
I'd say I'm still a bit bitter. Yeah,
Are you?
yeah.
It's
a long time.
It is a long time. But you had this run, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, of these early exits from the big stage.
The worst one was when you scored against Scotland after 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes later you're still getting hooked.
It was a good try too.
Yeah,
holding my width.
Yeah,
he was. It was hard at the time because there was nothing that kind of help you with it.
Was there any ever an explanation?
No.
Just like you're off.
Yeah, so he never told me, and but that was hard. But like, it was hard for your family and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so if he ever came on TV, my mother'd go red. You know, so like very much like my grandmother would go red for Margaret Thatcher coming on TV.
Right.
You know, through the miners and all
Yeah.
that type of stuff, and you know, she'd have the same thing. But yeah, look, it's Ali Williams once took me to. We played the All Blacks, and Ali was like, "Come on, let's go and talk to Shag and ask him if we should sub you off after half hour." So
Did he tell you he was going to do it?
no.
No. So you know after it happened the first time, the second time,
But I guessed the second time then, yeah.
right? Because he used to tell me before the game. See,
Did he?
yeah.
And you didn't tell me?
But I never, you never think.
You're some prick,
yeah.
this guy. You didn't even not tell
But
me
he
that.
told
Told you that he
always
was going to
think-
sub off Bomb.
Yeah, he'd tell me. No, he'd say I'd be on after half hour, but you'd never really think he was going to do it. So even
That's
if
a bit of an eye-opener for you.
even
Because
after
I
he's
never
been
knew.
through- even after he's
That's what
done
the
it.
show's all about.
But even
Bit of
after he's done
therapy.
it the first time, even the second time, you're thinking, nah, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. But 30 minutes, bump.
So the New Zealand game,
Yeah, I
you
knew
we
what was
coming off
going on. Yeah,
Oh dear.
that's
but,
heartbreaking.
but
that is.
in the back
That's
of my mind, you're thinking, no, he's
Oh,
not.
can we cut?
Yeah, but also, the point is that it just goes to show that it doesn't matter what you did on performance. It was predetermined. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I think it's actually more reassuring knowing that whatever you did, you were always going to get taken off.
It'd be nice of him to tell me, you know, just
Yeah,
a
but I think-
heads up the night
but
before,
from
you
his
know.
point of view, I think you assume that you've already been given the thing and you wouldn't want to talk about it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I wouldn't go up to someone to start a game and go, by the way, they told me you're off in 30 minutes because that would upset your game. Go, by the way, it doesn't matter what you do, you're
That's a very
fucked.
good
So he
point. That's
actually
a
did the
very
best
good
thing.
point, yeah.
But then also, I don't think you assumed that it would actually happen because
No,
most people
yeah.
go, I've looked to bring you on early. And then 30 minutes on the buzzer, you're brought on. Yeah, I think basically it worked
That's
out
actually
perfectly
clear.
right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
he would have
yeah.
undone you because then you would have sat there like stewing. And then you would have, like, would have got in your own head.
Like, I've been in that position, not me, but with a coach, and we've been thinking about the same thing, and it's very hard to do. It's a big call to do it,
To pull someone off
to
early.
pull someone off. Yeah, after half hour.
Well, Sean Edwards did the best one I've ever seen when he brought Aola Rinley on off the bench,
yes.
and then 5 minutes later took it back off again. He took a sub off. He was like, right, lads, get Oogie on, fucking get Oogie off. That was it. So yeah,
that happened with DM. Do you remember?
Yeah.
We played South Africa in Loftus Versfeld and met Nelson Mandela, didn't we? So there was a highlight of the day. I remember coming off after 55 minutes. We were against Van Rattenbach, who played for Irish. He was against him.
Gouged me first scrum.
Like a monk.
Welcome to the game.
Monster. John Smith.
And I got penalised for hitting him after he gouged me. 3 points.
So hit him like that, weren't you? And then
bad, don't it?
and
First
John,
scrum. I got
John
that in the
Smith, Oz Durant, and you came off. I think came off at about an hour. I was like, it's one of those ones. You're glad to get off the pitch, high altitude. You're blowing. Two scrums in. Tara Morris goes on 2 scrums in. Gets absolutely spat out of both scrums. Mike Wadsworth to Matthews. Boom, you're going back on. I'm like, oh fuck it. Like he could barely speak. Like I didn't.
There's nothing worse than that. Like when you come off, knowing you might still have to go on.
Right.
And you might have
On
to
the
get
bike,
warm and
trying
go
to
back
keep-
Do you know
home.
who is worse now? Coming off after half an hour in test matches.
Oh God, give it a rate. Yeah.
If you-
Sorry. It is like a props life is an interesting one because I think it's the most unique position on the field because of the ability to come back on and off,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you can have on and off. That close proximity consistently with one other player. Like I would have one-on-one battles, but you wouldn't be, head to head, face on face, consistently through a game, and also the relationship with the fact that more often than not, you guys are subbed come what may. Now there was that period. Remember, 2 or 3 years ago, where props were playing 80 minutes, sometimes 70 minutes. We saw that the game changed. Now they've gone back to bringing people on.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird world, isn't it?
Well, it used to be just 3, didn't it? So you'd have one covering both who would come on. But yeah, you are like the close proximity stuff. I remember playing against Markenay, France once, and every scrum.
Oh, he's a dirty fucker.
Every scrum we were just headbutting each other. After about 4, I was like, I don't know if I can keep this going. Every scrum you just go whack.
He used to do that when I played at Stade Francais with him.
Oh, that's
and
right.
he,
Yeah.
I remember in one of the games, he before playing Biarritz, he was headbutting. He headbutted me in the huddle. And I looked and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Right, headbutt. Anyway, he missed his first tackle and I picked him up and I said, listen, you want to spend less time fucking headbutting your teammates, dickhead, and more time making the tackles? And obviously I don't know what my French translation was particularly good, but he knew what I was talking about and he stopped headbutting after that. But it's another one of those myths when it all pretense, all kind of bravado.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, lads, just, you don't
Do
win
your
points for
job.
headbutting. Yeah.
I'd say I'd never. It's not really a Welsh thing, is it? When you kind of like to get in het up, but then I remember on the 09 tour, like
Lions.
Vicks and Sherry, they'd be like probably like wrestling, like swearing up to each other.
I know. I don't think we had that with Vicks. I think Vicks and Martin Purdy had a thing. Martin Purdy ended up breaking his nose and couldn't go onto the field. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, man, it's like, it all seems like a good idea, like psych each other. It's like, that has had no impact on the game at all. You actually just broke your nose, now you can't play.
Did you do nerves? Were you quite calm? Did you just leave it until you got out there, or did you have to get yourself in a space to play?
It could be, but the only thing I would be thinking about is if I could physically cope with the game.
Right.
I don't know why, but I'd always have that worry before a game. I don't think I'd be nervous about the occasion or going out there and playing or the rugby side of it. The only worry I'd always have was, right, am I physically ready to cope with the demands of a game?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because of the way I wanted to play or just that, I don't know, that's the way I was built. I wouldn't get nervous about the occasion, just about whether I'd done enough physically in the week to be able to cope with the demands.
You know you're going to have to go to such a dark place. Do you have the ability to manage it? I a lot of times with my career, I mean, I didn't even have half the career you guys have had, but that fear of kind of being fit but being unfit, suddenly turning up to the game and finding yourself 10 minutes in. You know, you've tried to play ill sometimes, thought, I'm going to soldier through this, and 10 minutes in, you're absolutely hanging. You're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to make this through. And only 10 minutes, you look at the scoreboard, it must be 45 minutes, like, it's been 5. You're like, oh my God. Yeah.
And you know, you know sometimes, and again, this is going back, if you've been on the piss on a Saturday and then you've trained poorly on a Monday, 100% the next weekend you don't feel as good on the field as you would if you hadn't.
Did you find that whenever you got into a dark place on the field, in your mind you'd look back and go like, what have I done this week that's led to it? And you think, oh my God, I shouldn't have had that cigar on Saturday night. That's maybe I'm fit for the week. You know what I mean? It's funny how
In the moment you're doing this.
I remember, you'd have those moments where you'd be running around and say it was a week later and you'd been on the piss, you'd done something that was out of routine and you were suddenly gasping breath. Obviously it hadn't had that impact, but you would recall it and go, oh, I shouldn't have drunk that. I'm not eating that. Christ, I didn't. Oh, I shouldn't have stayed up that night and watched that movie. I'm not going out on a date again in the week. And you wouldn't do it for a couple of weeks. Then you'd forget, and then you'd have the guilt again. It's mad how your mind works.
Yeah, I think it's not imposter syndrome, but it's certainly the first part of my career. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You'd probably think, oh shit, am I good enough and all that?
You were probably trying to push down a doner kebab anyway. You probably had one on the way to the match.
Shish kebab. It was, but I'm to sort of realise if you're good enough to be there and that type of stuff, and it was certainly the first part of my career and probably took me till, I know, it was your boy's mate Gats, but he was, until he kind of came in and give you the sort of, and Craig White actually was massive for it as well.
Yeah, you're a massive fan of Craig.
So Whitey was brilliant to me, and he kind of, so when they kind of came in, they kind of realised then.
In what way?
Just around probably around a bit of a hangover from Hansen.
Right.
And that type of stuff. But then, as soon as they came in, it was like, I didn't really get nervous then, kind of, a few things clicked around the scrum, a few things clicked around the fitness, and as I said, if you had a good week, it certainly felt like you come on and take anyone on the pitch. So.
If you saw Hansen now, would you?
I'd run away.
Would you really?
No, I don't.
Would you? Would you ignore? Would you shake hands?
No. I'd like, of course I would. I've spoken to him since.
Okay.
Yeah,
if you could run up behind him, if you could run and drive past him and open the car door and get him into a bush, would you do it?
No,
but no, if he didn't see you,
he's going to fucking see me.
Would you, if he was walking at the top of the stairs, he was struggling, and you walked past, would you push him down the stairs and then say he slept because he was old and getting a bit dodgy? Would you blame it on bad footwear?
No, I'd like to have a beer with him.
Really?
Oh, and poison the beer? Or?
That's sweet to sit down and have a beer, just have a little conversation. Have a little conversation about when no one told me about the 30 minutes.
I'm sensing though, it's interesting because obviously we talk about partnerships. You're sort of talking about you were doing really well and you came on and ruined it, and that you were a big showboater and you were just like salt of the earth geezer, just giving it time. I mean, are you even friends? Should we have got someone else up here? Like what's happened? How did your partnership work? I think we got on well.
Yeah, we got on well. We went. Well, a lot of years, like you said at the start, a lot of years playing together. So you do become tight. When we started, there was a good loose head called Yestin Thomas who played. Yeah. Then Duncan came through, Duncan Jones. So a lot of the time I was fighting to get in as a loose head because there was only 3 props. The actual best thing Steve Hansen did for me is he worked a lot with me technically to play tight head. Granted, I wasn't anywhere near as good as a normal tight head, but I managed.
Did a job,
and it got me more games, didn't it? Because I was on the bench then. So, that was the main.
What was your relationship like? I just want to know kind of like what it was like.
It was actually quite weird because our parents were got on really well, didn't they? So my mother and father got on really well with.
Oh really? Yeah. She wouldn't be spitting feathers and going red every time you were taking.
No, it was weird because they were like.
So she blamed Hansen, not him.
Yeah,
which is rightly so.
Yeah, love
because-
Gethin. Yeah,
oh, fine.
Yeah.
Love Gethin. Fuck Hansen.
Yeah.
And did they become friends through rugby, or did they know each other
No,
from?
through rugby.
Through rugby. Oh, yes.
But what was the partnership like? I'm interested. Like, did you go out for coffees after? Did you train together a lot? Do you extras together a lot, or were you just united by the fact you both were competitive? Like, what was the relationship? Because sometimes the perfect partnership, like Penn and Teller, the comedian, they don't spend any time together. Certain people don't mix together.
Hask and Payne. They
Hask
run from
and
each
Payne.
other when the mics
Yeah, exactly.
stopped.
But I can't stand my work colleagues in Goodbye
No,
Rugby.
I wouldn't say we did spend much time together. It was mainly during camps, but back then you would spend a lot more time, I think, with Wales in camps and prepping and stuff like that. And then, like I said, there's so many years we were in that together that you probably do get closer on the field as well.
I think we probably realised we kind of complemented each other around the sort of, like, he was obviously brilliant over the ball defensively, around the field, and I could sort of scrum. So, he kind of did all the sort of hard work, so to
All the
speak.
rugby part of it.
Everyone says he's like an extra back rower, because he was like an extra back rower, So he was a bit of a phenom there. And he's probably way, when I don't know, Marco Vinopola came on the scene. He was there. He was doing that type of stuff 10 years ago, and so it's he was before his time. So we probably, if I held my end up in the scrum, then then that was my job really. So it was
But you talk about Hansen and stuff. Like, you were at your best when you were being pushed.
Yeah.
And Andrew Hoare did that.
Yeah.
And you think then 2005 when we won that Grand Slam, you were probably not far off your peak fitness. And then there's another game, again, I'm talking about him here, that Scotland game where he scored 2-3 tries at the end to win that game. Shane scored at the end.
Right. Yeah, the comeback.
I came on in that game, tried to charge the ball down, pull my calf and straight back off. But you watch that game, that last sequence of plays, and again, there's only 3 props, so he's on for the full 80, and he's still cleaning rucks with 5 minutes to go at good speed and getting there, cleaning now and cleaning the next one. So even though we might not like him, I think he was at his best when he was pushed. So maybe Andrew Hoare, Craig White or whatever, obviously his scrum is his main strength, but when he's at his best, he was able to move as well around the field.
It was a weird one. You always used to think you need to be heavy to be a good scrummager.
Yeah.
But then sort of, it was about being fitter, so you could do it, every scrum, every time. So like consistently, the setup, the process, the engagement, the chase, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The heavier you do that, come 60 minutes, you couldn't do it because you were too tired. The fitter you were was actually the lighter. So, Gatto was one who played like, and Steve to be like 120 kilos, that sort of weight. And whereas I thought you had to be heavier, but that was another sort of thing in my head that, fuck, if I'm lighter and fitter, then I can actually be more consistent every scrum. It was the engagement then. So, every scrum's the same come minute 1, minute 75. So, it was fitness was a massive, like anything, isn't it? It's like,
What about Breakfast Club with Bernie?
Who's the chef?
So they'd have
The Fat
Fat
Club.
Club in the morning, right? I don't know who was the coach. No, but I'd come for the crack sometimes.
Gareth Jenkins.
Gareth Jenkins was it?
Gareth
So
Jenkins,
they turn up, they go on the bike for half hour, but then they go upstairs and have 5 or 6 sausages, the chef cooking them that to balance it out.
Protein on there, just protein.
So it's just protein.
Yeah, just protein.
So it's defeated the object.
I
of
love
the-
that.
of
With all the
bike
calories
in the
you
morning.
burn.
Carnivore diet, isn't it? Isn't that going in
Is that what it was?
Was that sanctioned, or did the chef look after you? Was it like a chef's table side room?
No, there was.
It was approved.
It's for the
So the
fatties.
idea was
Yeah.
make you wake
WR
up,
stamp.
sweat it out, burn 500 calories,
Absolutely.
and then eat 2,000 calories of sausages.
Absolutely, yes.
Wait, science.
I need to give Adam a moment to recompose himself. Can we pick through some of so World Cups, to bounce through World Cups, so 2003, when you look back now on that, I mean, it was almost, funny enough, it was the birth of what went on to become a very successful team. But it somehow it came from nowhere, particularly in that New Zealand game. Wales at that point were what as a team? Were they searching for something? Was it harmonious between management and players? It sort of felt like, particularly that New Zealand game, kind of came from nowhere. Or is that just an incorrect observation?
I'd say we were harmonious. I think we did a lot that trip. And you see England in World Cups at the moment, it seems like they're building a tight group. And I think on that trip, we stayed in apartments, we did loads of stuff off the field, all stuff as a young group, which we had at the time to get us tighter.
We actually had a good trip to Lanzarote and before the World Cup, and there was, again, probably Steve didn't realise what Welsh boys are like. A bit of sun on them, burnt, and he gave us 3 hours on the strip. So it was out at 9 o'clock, back on the bus at 12:30. I think the boys have a couple of beers. I think all the props ended up going together, but within about half hour, boys doing like dentist chairs. Fucking, we come back, everyone like sort of came on the bus, beer going everywhere. JT and Peely naked doing Barnacle Bill. I think Steve Hanson's there. I think you spewed in the foyer of the hotel, didn't you?
Second reception.
Hanson's like cleaning Melon spew up in the reception, and he was
Well, you should have known he was a favourite when the head coach is clearing his sick up. You didn't want the writing on the wall before that. He would have made you clear your own sick up.
But he'd gone from like, you thought we were going to have a few quiet beers to
But what an underestimate for obviously Kiwi thinking they'd be dedicated professionals to taking the Welsh, all like tanned up, all on budgie smugglers probably, thonged up, greased up, pissed up with it, like, and instead of seeing
that Europe probably hadn't made it, but then with the tanned, but it was an eye opener. I was just seeing like everyone's absolute carnage, wasn't it?
But even that, and sorry to be too serious with it, the lesson the next day, he made everyone who didn't go out or didn't drink, they trained, and he made the rest of us stand on the side and watch while they did it. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning session on the field. And obviously there's a message there.
I didn't mind whatsoever.
No, I was happy to watch as well.
Mark Jones.
Who was
Mark Jones, Sonny Parker, was it maybe?
Yeah, there was a good 10 or 11 who didn't drink, who were doing the training. I think it was more the ones who, like, I was obviously sick. A couple of others were sick. There was people naked on the bus. It was the ones who hadn't played up who were training, but he was obviously trying to send a message. But, you're just dying. You just stand there watching, thinking, I don't give a fuck.
I love how you spewed in reception. That's quite a unique choice.
You dig in to get off the bus and then couldn't make it.
Yeah, what, just outside or hidden, hovered outside?
No, on someone's back. Yeah, I couldn't make it. I was trying to get to the room, couldn't get there in time.
God, yeah, it was.
Imagine he spewed on by the size of that head. Imagine the folly, but like The Exorcist.
Back in 2003, off the back of 2003, and the coulda, woulda, shoulda, that sort of sprung into 2005. I mean, it was interesting. That 2005 Grand Slam, in many ways, was sort of the last 25 years of Welsh rugby wrapped up in 7 weeks, because it was a Grand Slam followed by the most extraordinary sort of implosion at the top of the tree. When you look back now at 2005, do you think the rugby? Do you think Mike Ruddock? Do you think Gavin Henson in his pomp and prime? What memories spring up of 19 years ago?
I'd probably look at it a way more, well, in a pretty positive way.
Yeah.
Certainly around, like, again, coming out to like match minutes I was playing. I was involved in every game. I was feeling more kind of, part of the team essentially. But it was, we had that, not a hangover, but, we were encouraged to play rugby. People like Dwayne Peel, Gethin, these type of guys would come in, to the fore. And, certainly, we had some, so Shane Williams, these type of guys. Gav. And,
What does that mean?
He's himself, but he was a brilliant player.
Yeah.
Didn't really train particularly hard. He was kind of, but come match day, he was a test match, sort of test match animal. But it was but we had boys come in, like, he was developing real quick. He played for the Lions in the summer, and he was a starting loose head in each test match. So so we had players like Dwayne Peel again. So in certain areas it was solid, but in certain areas there was a bit of stardust there, which kicked us on really, I think.
Yeah, you scored in the decider, didn't you? Was that Ireland?
Yeah, I did score.
Was it a charge down?
Just luck of the draw. It was a great day, wasn't it? That day. It was a big one for Wales
coming,
in general, in terms of the Grand Slam. And you talk about the other ones, but that was probably my favourite anyway, just in terms of it meant so much to the public. And when you're in it, you don't really see any of it. And then obviously when you look back and see some of the footage of everyone in the city hall and all the entertainment before the game and stuff you don't see when you're playing, you just see how much it does mean.
Yeah, it's amazing when it was 150,000 they said in sort of, not even in the stadium, sort of in the town the day, and it was I think Wales in the 80s and certainly early 90s, it was pretty it was dark, with loads of players going to rugby league.
Yeah,
I think you lost sort of probably 15 pretty high quality players to rugby league, so it was a bit of a struggle, but was to get that sort of first Grand Slam was pretty special. And yeah.
Did you watch the Gareth Thomas, Eddie Butler Scrum 5? Do you remember that as players?
Yeah.
Were you tuning in with a cup of tea and a hobnob? And did you know that was coming, or was it just sort of an explosion?
What happened on this? I missed this.
Mike Ruddock took Wales to a Grand Slam in 2005, and the following year there was a blow up on Scrum 5 between the captain, Gareth Thomas, and Eddie Butler. And Eddie Butler was accusing him of trying to oust him, or he'd walked. Yeah. It was all very sort of political.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all, yeah.
Do you remember being quite shocked about the outcome of it?
With Mike Ince?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can be honest with you, when I was in it, it was only sort of afterwards I kind of was made aware there might have been stuff going on behind the scenes. But when we were in it, not really at all. It was kind of, because I remember Nugget coming in on the Monday morning and be like, Mike's gone. And I was like, this was kind of during the Six Nations, wasn't it?
I think the age we were at the time, you almost weren't really involved in the senior player group or anything like that. So until it actually happened, you sort of in shock then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it came out of the blue, because there was always like stuff in the press in Wales and that, but it was, it was a bit of a, bit of a weird one, because he won the Grand Slam the year before, and it didn't get much better, really, because we ended up losing to Fiji the next year.
Well, I was going to say, it's sort of feast or famine in the early years, and we'll come on to sort of a bit more of the stability, but then you go to the 07 World Cup, and that was what?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shambles, wasn't it? I think we had a good side. I think we had some brilliant players. I don't really know what went wrong. I think if you play Fiji and you want to beat Fiji, probably back then you need to kind of tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we scored a couple of worldies, so we thought, let's start throwing the ball around. And then De La Salle was scoring, Bobo was scoring for them, and he was went a bit tits up, really. But it was. Do you remember the fall? I mean,
Gareth Jenkins went pretty quickly off the back of it.
Yeah.
That
night.
He went that night, did he? Mm-hmm. Was he fired in a car park? Or have I made that up?
Yeah. He was definitely. I would say it's definitely in your hotel.
Right.
What I will say about Gareth is, he got fired, and first thing he does is come into the team room where all the players are, and he's drinking with the boys, and he's telling stories when he was, down in Llanelli when he was a player, and all about Ray Gravel and Phil Bennett and all this, and he'd gone from being sacked into
So took it like a man.
Took it like a man, just like holding court essentially then for the rest of the night, and just it probably shows. I reckon it was a little bit late for him. He should have got the job years before but as a bloke, he's
top man,
phenomenal. The residing image I've got of him is when we pulled back up the Vale, come back from France, and you go to the Vale and you turn right into the Vale. He stopped the bus there to turn in, had his bag of Toblerone. Cheers, boys, and got off the bus there and walked up the top towards the golf club, because he didn't want to see the media sort of thing.
Really?
Which was fair enough, because it wasn't nice the way they did it.
He actually never wanted to happen.
But he had a bag, like
such a good fella,
a little white plastic bag with his duty-free Toblerone in it.
I love that. You've got to travel with Toblerone. You can't. Can you even? Is it even a holiday unless you come back with Toblerone?
2 for 1. 2 for 1 Toblerone.
Isn't that amazing?
It was sad. I found it quite he's such a good fella.
He had a hell of a Scarlet side, actually. Those early years of Europe.
Yeah, they were sort of
really
semi-finals a few times, and they were. So he was probably, that was the time he should have come in, but I think Henry was there at the time. So, but yeah, it was sad.
And then off the back of that, in comes Gatland, and it sort of feels. I mean, is it fair to say the whole thing went up again? You won a Grand Slam at the first time of asking. You picked Australia for most of.
Yeah, sensibly.
Yeah, what was it? 13 of you against England, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was. He was good, I think, for us. He was. He's what we needed. It was all very straight. Sean was brilliant.
Yeah,
Sean kind of came in and sort of. There'd been a lot of like arguments how we want to defend, with the previous defence coaches. Are we going to blitz? Are we going to drift? Are we going to dritz? Or whatever it is. And Sean pretty much came in and said, "Look, if you don't want to blitz, then fuck off. We're going to blitz defence." And that was, that was a big part of it. And it was just. I think it seemed everything just became more intense. And he kind of fed you the lines around, we're working harder than everyone else, and I'm sure it's stuff you've heard before, but
fittest team in the world, no one's doing what we're doing.
And I'm looking at myself, I'm definitely not the fittest prop in the world. But it was like, but you made you feel sort of good about yourself, and everything was it was short and sharp, real sort of, if you'd ask Gav, how long do you want to train? Gav would be like half hour. All right, we're going to train for half hour, but it'd be intense. So it was a massive turnaround from what we were doing, It was.
Sean absolutely loved you, didn't he? I mean, there's some amazing
I got on well with Sean.
There's a quote here, just before you go. Gethin's one of the most intelligent rugby players in his position in the history of the game, said Sean Edwards. He's an all-round rugby player, not just a prop forward who scrummages, but one of the first players I go to at half-time and have a chat about anything he thinks we need to be concentrating on. I totally respect his opinion. And from Sean Edwards, that's
Adam Jones has great hair. Sean Edwards, that was the next.
Adam was just get next to the ruck, stay out of the way.
Adam was, for a big lad, he was great by the ruck. Sean Edwards,
I used to really like what he brought in terms of the defensive stuff. I suppose he probably made me like defence a lot more in terms of that. And now coaching, I probably watch him even more. Some of the stuff he says, and don't get me wrong, some of it is quite funny in terms of his French and how he hasn't got much of the language, so it makes it even more important. Say he says 4 or 5 words.
He's got enough to let you know what he wants you to do.
For them to take it, because there's no... he wasn't one for rambling anyway. So now he's limited to a few. There's more. But yeah, some of the stuff he used to bring in, and you'd sort of do stuff in the week. And sometimes when you're getting a bit older, you're thinking, right, what are we doing this for? What are we doing this for? And then you play a game and you say you did 1 or 2 things that you've done on a Monday or Tuesday. You're thinking, fair play, he's planned all that. He's got that right in place for that game. So even though there's a bit of a front in terms of the way he acts and the way he puts himself across, I know he is a little bit crazy sometimes. There's thinking behind, I think, everything he does.
Did you find... So I find him, as people to interview, I find him one of the most... There's sort of bit of Ben Kingsley and Sexy Beast about interviewing him. You're very much on edge when you're interviewing Shaun Edwards. Did you find that as players, or was he good as goal behind closed doors? And
He's brilliant with me.
Really?
Yeah, like, again, and we take the piss. He was like, I know how hard you work in the scrum.
Yeah.
Just stand there.
Right.
So and just don't be exposed. Well, with him, though, I think he was like almost Shaun on the field. He was like a second pair of eyes. I always found, like, he'd be on about George North. He needs to, cover in the backfield or wherever it was. So he'd have an opinion, which is right. He wasn't
That's
wrong.
quite unusual for a prop, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he's quite unusual.
I wasn't focusing on the scrum, was I?
Right,
Yeah,
true.
So no, and it's not like a piss. He was sort of, he understood the defensive system and all that type of stuff. So he was like almost like a second, and him and Jamie Roberts would kind of be their sort of second pair of eyes for Shaun. And it was, the amount of times I've seen him call out wingers.
Yeah.
To the point that they're like, they're sort of about to cry. It's funny, I think George North hates him.
Right.
No,
Did you give out quite a bit?
What, on the field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did, yeah. He's horrendous. Yeah.
To your own team as well as your...
Yeah.
Mostly to him.
He's like,
Never to the own opposition.
No, I suppose the further on you get, the more you see the game quicker, and you're trying to get everyone up to speed. And if someone's not doing what they've been coached all week, then you do get into them. You sort of, like you said, a second pair of eyes on the field. But just on Shaun, like, I got jerseys and stuff in the house, but two of the best things I've got are pictures of me and him with a trophy and him with his squiggles on there saying thank you. Like 62 points conceded for the championship, or 43 points conceded, the two main ones we've won, and he's there with that picture, and then he got them framed and given to me. So they're probably two of the best things I've got in the house.
Very unique for a prop to because obviously defence was my life's back row. I put a lot of focus onto it. You very much you would end up be sort of managing them around the ruck area or getting in. Obviously knowing how hard it was. I don't think I ever played with a prop that's kind of like you, that had that kind of set a standard, because you normally hear about someone like Owen Farrell calling people out and calling out standards. Was that? Did you get a lot of pushback on that, or was it okay because you back it up on the field and it wasn't a problem? So there's nothing worse than someone saying move, and then you get run around like you're a roundabout. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know? If someone comes back at you, you actually feel a bit better about it. Yeah. I'd rather someone come back when you're on the field. You'd rather someone, I don't know, tell you where to go or come back at you than someone who just looks at you and thinks, oh, why is he saying that?
Right.
Because there's obviously a reason behind it. And I actually, there's a story when I went on 2013 Lions and I'd been injured leading up to it. So the first week and a half out there, all I'd been doing is rehabbing my calf. And, it's a dark place. You're only concentrating on getting your leg better. And we went to the first session in Hong Kong, first session back into team training. And Johnny Sexton called a play. And I just didn't know the call. And I was in the wrong place. My fault. Didn't know my role, blah, blah, blah. And he fucking went at me. He proper went at me. And I thought, fair play, he's fucking gone at me. And I said, yeah, my fault, held my hand up. Then I thought, well, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to go at me. It's my fault. I've been focusing on someone else. I haven't learnt my role properly. Have a go at me. And, I respected him more for that. And it probably justified me doing it when I got back into the games.
Even at Hibs in the training session after O'Driscoll got dropped.
Oh yeah.
In Noosa, and Hibs messed up a play, and he shouts him twice, and you see Hibs' face. He's a tough back of Hibs, and Sexton goes in again. He's like, oh, he's gonna go over there and absolutely batter Johnny Sexton any second. And we kind of had to start them all, the sort of scrum again, just to pull him in because Ibs had totally lost it.
Wow.
Because he was. He's quite a rough and ready character, Richard. And he called him out 3 times and he was ready. He was right. He's going to fucking kill him.
He played well in that third.
He did.
He contained it well.
Yeah,
to get him to test match.
Sexton was amazing. I think the level of respect's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things about teammates and a team that's very much in a high performance atmosphere when you can do that. And also knowing as well, knowing that if you shout at me, it's not a problem. Knowing if you shout at someone else might break them, but taking them to side after training and go, listen, you fucked up 3 times there. You've got to work on it. What is it you don't understand? Let me help you work on it. That's for me the next level on that.
I think we have to do that even more now. I think.
Yeah.
If that happens now these days, it's
tough, isn't it? The days where you can properly go at someone on the field are gone, I think.
Yeah, because you break them, wouldn't you know?
Foul is probably doing it still, which I like.
I think that those not old school, but Sexton, Daniel, those type of guys, they're all that way inclined. Marcus is getting there.
Is he?
And he will get there.
Are you conscious of what you're saying as coaches now? Do you treat the kids much more carefully than you were treated?
Up here.
You know what I mean? Hasks sort of sniggering.
Up here you do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
Not back down there?
I don't know, but I don't know it's like in Wales, but like certainly you have to mind how you say stuff and like.
I find it out because my first instinct is, the front of my brain is to fucking go hard at someone and really like go at them all, like I would if I was playing.
Yeah.
But then in coaching, you have to obviously, there's a lot of thinking goes on, which is different to playing, where you've got to sort of mind what you.
Did you do any coaching around that? Because I'm really interested. Because 1 minute you're a player, next minute you're a coach, and there isn't a lot of training that goes into how you speak to people, especially now with this current climate. Yeah. Have you done any work on that? Or someone take you to one side and go, for example, Gethin with you, Jesus, you can't go burying these lads. We need to be a bit more positive, or how's that work?
No, I think you're learning on the hoof a lot of it.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest side you've probably got a lot of knowledge from playing and experiences in terms of who you've worked with as coaches and what you've learned from them. But the hardest bit is getting that across and, like I said, you're talking how you put yourself across.
You're
to
teaching
players.
essentially, You're teaching, So I think I was lucky with Quins having like JK kind of let me coach, but 2 guys were really great. Joe Marler's brilliant around any. Certainly when I started, do this, or maybe should drop that, or that was a bit long, or whatever. But Robbo's brilliant. Yeah. Robbo's class. Robbo's like, he's kind of walked down from the top to the bottom. He'd be sort of saying, look, I think you went a bit hard there. I think you didn't need to be so fucking, sort of shouty or whatever. And then like a year down the line, he was, it was really good. He was way more calm. And so I love his presentation. Like Guzzi was big on that. Paul Guzzi was massive on the presentation, as you know. And he was a big part. Like he used to make me. I'd have to tell stories in front of the boys, so my presentation skills. Yeah. And, I speak quickly. It's just a trait for my, so I have to slow everything down way slower to, with the accent as well. So, Guzzi was brilliant, Robbo was brilliant, Marlow was brilliant around.
The same thing was actually Steve Borthwick.
Yeah.
Because when he first came, a fantastic coach, but again, not necessarily best front of house. He worked very hard in his presentation skills. Yeah. But then in comparison to Guzzi, he was a performer. There's performers and there's presenters, but even when you're trying to get a message across, how you present them, it's very interesting that ability to be able to do that and how it comes. I mean, also, you said you both quite negative. I imagine quite negative. Like when I was a player, like I was positive but negative. It was negative with positivity. You know what I mean? How do you then? Because I imagine sort of team environment, you're sitting around, especially in club environments, you're sitting around talking shit, but you guys are now coaches. How do you balance out your general negativity and disdain for everybody and everything to then translate that into? Because you remember, you can't be seen going, look at them shoes, you fucking prick, you're lazy, fat food shit. How do you navigate that?
I think I'm lucky, and as a scrum coach, you kind of got to be like, it's harder for him because it's a massive part of the game.
Yeah.
Like, and he's got that. Naturally, it's going to be a little bit negative, isn't it? But as the scrum coach, you've kind of got to be the big fat curly happy guy a little bit, and you're got to take on that persona. Whereas sometimes you're just not good sappy. You have to be a little bit more energetic, a little bit more bubbly. Just to.
Have you found that? I found that as a scrum coach, say you've got a 45-man squad, you'd pick 45 players for 23 spots every week. Do you know what I mean? With a scrum coach, they come to you with the first port call because you're a large bubbly, going, fucking hell, I should have been in the team. You go, listen, if I was picking the team, you'd be in the team. Right? You tell all players that, because I've had that. And when the scrum coach has actually become head coach, and I've got a knock on the door and I said, well, you fucking told me I was going to pay every week. And they go, yeah, sorry, I can't make this decision now. Are you that kind of bloke where you just soul everyone?
No, I think you've got to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's like you tell your individual line. If I'll tell a tight end he's not playing, and
Fine,
so
okay.
so you kind of get that job anyway. So it's.
But what about other players who come to you like to lean on you because you're being really positive, and I'm like a back row player and I haven't got in? You go, well, listen, if I was picking the team, you'd be in.
I am quite good on that route.
Really?
But,
What about you? Because you're defence coach.
Well, Mondays are probably quite hard when you're picking a team and you've got those players looking for answers. Defence is a lot about attitude, as you know, so it almost suits me a little bit. But I think we're in a good position in terms of we're not that long retired, so we sort of understand still what it's like to be playing. And I do sometimes think everything I do, right, will they be fucking moaning about this? Because I would.
Yeah. Would they be taking the piss out of that meeting I've just had and repeating it?
Yeah, so everything I almost do, sometimes I evaluate it, right, what would I have thought of this if I was playing?
Yeah.
Have
Have you got it? Have you ever got it? Have you got it wrong? Do you feel like you got it wrong sometimes? Going, oh God, what was I thinking?
Oh yeah, you come up with a meeting and you think, fuck, that was shit. I bored him. You get bored yourself sometimes. You think that wasn't good enough, or you do a drill where you haven't explained it properly.
And you've got a limited time frame.
And you've got a limited time, and you've rushed yourself, and you're thinking, why am I rushing? I got plenty of time. I could have explained it. The drill could have gone better. So for me, and like he said, you're learning all the time off people who are working with you, looking back at your stuff. Have you done it well? Have you presented well? And it's just continuous. You know, I've only been in it 5-6 years in terms of coaching, so I'm learning every day.
Really interesting. I want to finish with your Lions memories actually as a duo, but just very quickly, 2011 World Cup, 2015 World Cup, which would be the bigger itch to scratch?
I thought
what are your memories of
11
both?
was tough. We went on a great run, beating Ireland in that quarters, and then there's no blame because it's the way it went, but I don't think we prepared that well for the France game in terms of, and again, I don't want to slate anyone because it's nobody's fault in particular, but we moved to Auckland for that last week against France. We had an evening game against France, and we changed our whole sort of training up, so we were staying in the casino basically.
Right.
But we wouldn't train till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to try and acclimatise to the time we were playing, where you would never do that at home. You'd always get used to it and you just turn up and you play the game. So we'd be up at, say, 11, midnight in the hotel because you wouldn't have to get up till 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we changed the whole routine of what we did. And I felt that had a bit of an effect on the way we were in the game. Obviously, other things happened in the game in terms of Warby's sending off and stuff, and even then and he went off injured, changed the game.
Well, didn't you? Yeah.
But even then, we should have had a scrum penalty under again. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. We should have had a scrum penalty under the posts, 2 missed kicks, and so it is a big regret. I think that game in terms of
I think we had a good side. I think
one of our best performances was against Ireland, and we probably didn't carry that on well enough to get to the final.
Yeah.
I definitely think, and obviously I can't speak for 15, but I think that 11 side was good. I think people like Mike Phillips at the top of the game, these type of guys, and but a real good group of older players, real good group of like middle age, but the young boys coming through with sort of the set the standard, the Georges, the Slupes, these type of guys. It was I wouldn't say they pushed us harder, but like you had to kind of up your because we were still playing and. We were missing people like Hibbard, but Hugh Bennett came through and did really well, and Charteris came like to another level, and it's hard to say.
Jonathan Davis.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to say the one that got away, but like he was,
possible.
Fully loaded in the final. I think we'd have had a good shot at it, really.
Yeah. And 2015, it was by the end, it was sort of is anyone free to play type stuff because of the number of injuries you had. But that game, I'm going to ask you about 2013 England as well. But that game against England in 2015 and the aftermath. I mean, Haas can talk it from an England perspective, but
not really. I was in the stand.
Social mediaing it. But
Actually, that's a lie. I got 15 minutes at the end of that Welsh game when Biddy Venipola went off. Thanks for that. That was a great tournament.
Was that Sam Burgess tournament?
Yeah,
that was. Yeah, well, everything was blamed on poor Sam Burgess. For no reason at all.
But what do you remember the aftermath of that England? Because that
there's a big deal made of that. To us, I don't think it made a massive. It was almost like everyone was saying, "Oh, we beat England," but it was a group game at the end of the day. I know England had gone out, but it was the way we won it. Obviously, everyone got excited about the way we come back and won it towards the end. But I think deep down as a group, it wasn't as big as everyone made out because we still had to. you know you win 2 or 3 games, you've got a big quarter-final anyway, and then we lost to South Africa in the quarter-final, which almost nullified it anyway as a result. So I get the big hurrah about we won at Twickenham and all this, and it was in the World Cup. It was a home World Cup for England, but I think that's quite narrow in terms of where we wanted to go and what we wanted to achieve.
But I think we probably came through a time where like the Stereophone
was
done
dominant.
Stereophone has done that song years
as long
ago.
as we beat the English.
Yeah, exactly. But when we started playing, it didn't matter as much. Still did the public, but like, it wasn't the be all. Wales beat England in Wembley in '99, which is the biggest game ever. They still came. They still lost 2 games against Scotland and Ireland.
Yeah.
They came like 3rd or 4th, so it wasn't like they didn't win a Grand Slam, and it was massive then. But I think as soon as we became more successful, I'd say, then the Wales-England games for players certainly wasn't the be-all and end-all.
No.
Fans, yes, don't get me wrong, but like players, it wasn't, because it was, Scotland, Ireland were getting better and better, so was France.
And you knew it was one of the toughest ones.
Yeah. What are the memories of 2013? I suppose the question is, the best days you had in a Wales jersey would be which? And do England fans make more of 2013 because it was a Grand Slam that went up in smoke than Wales? But you were captain that day, Gethin. Is that one of the ones, or would you go elsewhere?
It did mean a bit more because I was captain. I don't want to talk it down because it was a great victory, but we didn't win the Grand Slam. We won the tournament. We took it off them. It was probably a tough one for me individually because I was close to not playing. I was at Bison all the night before with my calf. I had really heavy strapping on for the game. I nearly didn't get out there to play. And our scrum went well somehow. I don't know, because I felt like it was on one leg. And the game went by in a flash, because when you've got a bump or you're carrying a bump, you tend to, even though I was captain, the only thing I was thinking about was, can I get through, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So it went by in a flash for me. And even now, thinking back to it, I can't really remember a lot of it. You watch the highlights and you see some of the tries, but actually during the game, I can't remember a lot. All I remember is probably one message from Sean in the week, in terms of Marco Vanapola coming on, and I think that was when he came on the scene. And that week leading up, he made a big point of saying, when this guy comes on, we've got to get off the line and smoke him. Right. And he did come on. I did try, and he actually sat me down.
Right.
But there's not much in terms of memories for that game. Bob might remember a few more.
Only because Marla brings it up quite often, because obviously he was the opposition. And we, as much as he likes to play the scrum down, we did win 5 scrum penalties. Right. So it was, I've always got that on Marla, which is good.
Lovely. Yeah. That'll live with you forever.
Yeah. So, when I played the clip the other day. We were talking about hitting and chasing in the scrum. Yeah. I know we need to hit and chase more, so I got a few clips up, and I got that one. Then the first scrum of the game against him, where just to pull him back down to earth. Joe, he can get a bit ahead of himself every now and again. So it was big. It was massive for me, because it was going the Lions tour as well. Scrum went well, and we had a pretty good side then. I think Hibbs was involved, and he probably got himself on that tour from a hit on Joe. Yeah. And then it was it was, the anthems were something that stuck with me. I remember Jeff Parlin saying, because the English anthem was mental loud, like crazy loud. I've never heard like it. It was unbelievable, like the God Save the Queen. And then he was thinking, shit, this is, it seems fully most of the England crowd here, but ours was a different level. But I remember the English boys saying, they sort of, like Lenny and Young Oak and Jeff Parlin was saying, shit, this is never anything like it. Yeah. And it was
when I knew when it was when Manu was on that first break and dropped the ball. Do you remember he was like, he was clear through a thing and just dropped it, or something hit, and you were like, this is not great, and then we're getting hit back, and then suddenly it was one of those moments where it was like being a tumble dry. You just couldn't catch your breath at all. And then I remember Tipperix meant that mental try, that the turnover, boom, play. No, but remember he got. I think Tips got the initial break. Yeah, it's just mad.
Yeah. So I remember so I was struggling then. So after the game, my calves and bits. For a week later, I was on an 8-hour bus trip from Toulon to San Sebastian to play. That's one of my big memories.
Good money,
Yeah.
Come on now.
Think about the cash.
You were doing it for fuck all, were you? You were doing it for fuck all, were you?
Just before we finish, I want to ask you about Lions memories, because obviously you did 05, which doesn't go up in lights, but the two of you in 09, part of probably the greatest Lions series. I know it didn't finish in the way that Lions fans would have wanted, but it was a hell of a series. And then obviously 2013 for you was the glory. How do you reflect on your achievements in that other red jersey?
That's probably one of my biggest regrets in my career. I know I can't change it now, but in fact, that second test, chain of events. Everyone says, "Oh, it was a rough game." Well, that clean out on Adam is not far off legal. Mine was a clash of heads. There was like Brian O'Driscoll's one was a clash.
I mean,
all that stuff went against us, didn't it?
Schaltberger gouging Luke Fitzgerald 2 minutes.
That's probably the one you
minutes
can't
into the game.
single out. Yeah, the eye gouging. But
They let him off that one as well.
Yellow card.
It was like an accident.
Yeah.
It's not. What do you say? It's not ballet. I think the coach said after the test match.
really,
Peter de Villiers,
but again,
yeah.
we've done so much fitness building up to that tour to get used to getting in. First test, we were caught cold in terms of. Even though it wasn't at altitude, it was quite warm, and they sort of this. And then second test, I remember 30 minutes into the game, feeling great at altitude, feeling great, thinking, really enjoying this. We're going well, feeling fresh. And then second half, obviously, this big chain of events turned against us. So, because if we'd have won that, I think we were in a good place to win that.
We wouldn't have played anyway.
We wouldn't have played. No, we were fucked. But I remember going to the hospital and the surgeon rocking up, and he was pissed, trying to operate on me.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was one of my biding memories from that as
How
well.
did you know what? It was before he was going count down to 10, going, I'm taking a hit from a hip blast.
He came up. He said he stunk of wine, but he was on call. So he's on call. But
He
he's
was
obviously
hospitality,
watching the
somebody
game.
said.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
in hospitality.
Yeah, but
I said, you're not operating. I said, you can't operate on me. So I had to wait 3-4 hours in the hospital for him to do my cheekbone.
Jesus.
Did a great job, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Started operating
After
on
he
your
sobered up.
Yeah, exactly.
imagine you saw
New pair of boots all of a sudden.
racked up a line of gear, did that, and was like, I've straightened myself out now, and then trying to operate on your arm. I'm like, no, thank you. Count back to 10. No.
One of the funniest,
Hip
and
replacement.
it's like Jamie, top guy and really nice bloke, but like I'm on the hospital bed, they're wheeling me around, and all I see is him walk past. Stay strong, stay strong.
Jamie said that?
Yeah. I thought, fuck off, Jamie.
Stay strong.
Stay strong.
Yeah, you can make it back, Rob.
And the clear out?
No, I was just being like lazy in the ruck really, and then we kind of just. It was probably before counter rucking.
Yeah.
It was the counter ruck is a thing now, but he was kind of just came and hit me, and my arm was kind of stuck like that, and it couldn't go back in. There was two things.
I remember you walking off like that.
Yeah, it just wouldn't go back in, and there was two things. I saw him, and he was on the bed, and they would prod in his cheek, and all I could hear was him just like screaming, and this cheered me up a bit because I kind of looked over and he's like, oh, he's in a bit of a bad way as well. But then, like, do you know Lethal Weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he dislocates his shoulder and he kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
and he kind of
Mel
hits it against
Gibson
the
is-
wall.
yeah.
There was fucking no chance of that happening. No chance of it. I thought there was literally going to be like, oh, and they'd be fine. But he was stuck there, and he was like, he's pulling down, and you got the gas of air on, and he's on the other side, and he's, it's been prodded as well, and it was literally wedged in there. Then they ended up like knocking me out to take me to hospital and to have it put back in. It was stuck, but then
Stuck and agony? Or just
agony. Oh, so painful, so painful. I didn't realize how painful it would be until I think it was about 5 years ago. My old man was cleaning the porch or whatever it was. Falls off the little ladder, dislocates his shoulder. Being an old fella, just decides, gives it the old arm under the armpit, smashes his shoulder back in on the wall himself.
Oh my
and he's like, I'm like, how the fuck you do that? I was meant. He can't do that. He's fucked now. He can barely move it. But he looked hard as fuck. He looked hard at the time. But yeah, it was so painful. It was like horrendously painful. Because apparently I was on the bed, my arm was off, I was knocked out, and the doctor was literally hanging off it the other side, underneath the bed, trying to pull it down. Like,
Do you have any problems? Was it operated on? Do you have any problems?
no,
with
it's fine. It's good now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good
Oh,
now.
Christ.
180 bench. Oh, that's-
180 bench, sorry about that.
Still good. Still good.
And what about 2013, particularly that third test?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was again, it was quite a bit of a masterstroke when we lost in Melbourne.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know whether he did it on purpose, but the whole pressure came off when he didn't pick Dricko. That was obviously Sam was injured from the second test, but Dricko that took any pressure off the players. We'd had a few beers, so the Sunday night after the test match, and then we trained on the Wednesday, and so it was weird because Australia's a bit different, isn't it? It's like it's
It's not 24/7, is it?
Yeah, you can kind of wander around the town and no one really knows. But then we got shipped into where the stadium was early, and there's Lions fans everywhere, and we didn't think it was gonna be 40 points, but we'd fancy our chances to do it, because we probably should have won it in the second test. But yeah, it was amazing. It's probably the highlight of my career, certainly. I remember you kind of want to go on the tour and do something. You know, you never want to be a sort of dirt track. I was probably lucky in 09 where Ewan Murray got injured. Vic's kind of had that, you know, so I was kind of put in that sort of bench spot, probably by default, really, kind of going out to the third choice. And so you want to impact the test series as much as you can and get in, you know, so it's, you know, whenever I've had props going on tour, you know, you kind of, like Kyle or Joe, you kind of want to, you know, don't just go on fucking old bags. You know, don't just be, you know, on the piss all the time. You know, embrace it, like. And yeah, so 13 was amazing. It was a highlight.
Special time.
Yeah, it was class. It was brilliant.
We always stick in a Continental Tires question of the week, and we had a number actually, which we're asking you the best duo or front row that you came up against. You had a hell of a partnership with a lot of silverware, but was there one when you came up against you thought we have to go to another level? Go on.
Heyman, Mialamu, and Woodcock. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Around sort of probably 4, 5, 6, 7, that sort of time.
Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal.
Because
scrimmage, and I'm talking.
I'm
sure you have a different opinion about it, but like the scrum is so, you know, Woodcock was big, strong, aggressive. Mialamu, good scrummager. Heyman was just, you know, as he knows, played with him, just, you know, for someone so big, get so low, aggressive again, just, you couldn't do anything. It took me literally, I played Woodcock 10 times before I actually had got some change out of him. He was apart from my good friend here, for me, he's the best to play the game. He probably doesn't get the plaudits he deserves, really. He's phenomenal. I thought he was a phenomenal player.
Amazing. What about for you, Gethin?
They probably underestimate New Zealand scrum because of the way they play. Everyone thinks, oh, they haven't got the basics, but when you look back at players like that, and when I did play with Carl Heyman, watching him in the gym and the stuff he does, you're in awe in terms of how he does it and the prep he does to be able to get into that position. So I can't go far wrong from that front row.
Brilliant. It's been really, really good fun. It's been a lovely insight into the world of the front row. It's been a lot of old school. There's been a lot of silverware, but there's been a lot of, obviously, respect between the two of you and for what you've done. When you meet up now, how often do you meet up now, if at all? Is it a sort of a respect for what we went through?
We still text a bit, don't we? We still sort of...
we trained against them. They ventured down on Thursday, trained against us for Cardiff, so we had a bit of a catch-up then.
Good. Everyone that comes on do you want to do the honours with the black eye behind?
So, lads, we've got this...
I'm really sorry they're signed. I'm not sure that two legends of the game need...
By Jim Haskell.
Really want to sign Jim from the three Pratts on the sofa.
Listen, he's nicked all the stuff from McDonalds. This will be up in his attic until he needs a job.
True.
No, so basically, this is our black eye gin. So this is the gin that the three of us have launched. But more importantly, £1.50 of every bottle sold goes into the Black Eye Players Fund, which basically raises money for men and women across rugby to focus on 3 areas: research, risk, and recovery. So obviously, WASP guys, when it went bust, there'd be people needing surgery. We would help them fund that kind of stuff. We've donated to Gary Street, who obviously had a stroke, giving him some money to help with his rehab. So it's an award-winning gin. It tastes unbelievable. It's got some of special ingredients and not a weird thing. Tyndall's been round some beehives in the palace and to put a few bits in there. We can't talk too much about that. And it's obviously going for a good cause. If you like a drink, which hopefully you do too, then enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been really, really enjoyable, and I hope the Welsh fans will understand a little bit more about the legendary partnership and about the front row world as well. Good on you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
good on you.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this third episode in our series of Rugby's Greatest Unions, brought to you by our very good friends at Continental Tires. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to do that. And if you want to suggest other partnerships that you'd like us to interview, please drop them in the comments below. We've been The Good, The Bad and The Rugby. We're a folding pocket production. This episode was produced by Tom Edwards. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.